Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 8, overall 448 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, as well as their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac products as well. You can contact the dealership 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk and Sports, the heartbeat of Atlanta, weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. I hope everyone's doing well on this Wednesday, October 30th, 2024, one day before Halloween, and less than a week to the NFL trade deadline as well, which is coming up, I believe, November 5th at 4 o'clock. The NFL trade deadline used to be at Halloween, but I think they pushed it back. But I'm excited about my guest today. This is going to be his fourth time on our show. He's a friend of mine, and he does a great job with the Locked On Lions podcast, a weekly podcast show devoted to the NFL's Detroit Lions. And we're going to bring Matt on and talk some Detroit Lions football this morning. Good morning, Matt. How you doing?
Hey, Chris. Good to see you, buddy, as always.
How's the weather in Michigan these days?
Unseasonably warm, my friend. It's sunny and like in the 70s today. I guess tomorrow for Halloween, like you mentioned, it's supposed to rain, which is too bad for the kids. Hopefully the rain stops around 5, 6 o'clock so everybody can get their candy and enjoy themselves. But yeah, all's good, my man.
Hey, it's a great time of the year for sports, Matt. You got the NFL going on. The CFL is heading to the playoffs this weekend. And then you got college football and then Major League Baseball as well. And did you quickly get a chance to watch any of that Yankees-Dodgers game last night?
I did. I caught a lot of the back half of it. A little bit surprised, to be honest with you. I thought the Dodgers were going to just wrap it up. I know they went with a bullpen game last night and pitched some guys that aren't exactly their top-notch dudes, but I would expect that tonight the Dodgers close it out. Although Garrett Cole's pitching for the Yankees, and so this might get interesting if Cole can pitch well and they send it back to L.A., but no team's ever done this in the World Series, come back like this. I know the Yankees, blew that lead to the Red Sox back in the day on the down 0-3 in the ALCS, but it's been semi-entertaining. You got to be happy for a guy like Freddie Freeman, who just seems to be such a good guy and is having a great World Series.
His one parent is from Windsor, Ontario, and the other parent's from Peterborough, so he has Canadian citizenship too.
Yes.
So a lot of people over here are cheering for him because of his heritage.
It's very cool. It's he just seems like such a down-to-earth person, and obviously he's had some issues health-wise with his son during the season and having to take time away. And but talk about a guy you definitely root for, that's for sure.
And things are looking up in Detroit with the Detroit Lions as Super Bowl contender. The Detroit Tigers look like they're on the way up. As for the Red Wings, well, they're a work in progress still. And the Pistons, well, they can only get better. But hey, Matt, I wanted to bring you on and talk some Detroit Lions. And there was some news yesterday with Jamison Williams, who's just coming off a 2-game suspension. And how's this hurt the Lions' preparation for the Packers on Sunday?
So obviously they know they're not going to have Jamison Williams for Sunday's game against the Packers anyway, based off of the performance-enhancing substance, a 2-game suspension that he is serving. He missed last week's game against the Titans, and quite honestly, they didn't need him. They were playing a terrible team, and the Lions did their damnedest to put them away early and did so, winning 52-14. Detroit is on a roll right now, Chris. They've won 5 in a row. They're playing really good football. They know, again, they won't have J-Mo for Sunday against the Packers, but I think they're going to be okay. This story breaks yesterday evening, and it's interesting because he was carrying a gun in a car with his brother. His brother's gun, and this is midnight on Monday, October 8th into Tuesday, October 9th. His brother's gun has a permit. He did not have one. Jameson didn't. It was a routine traffic stop. I guess he and his brother were very good to the police. They were accommodating. They answered all the questions, but unfortunately, J-Mo did not have a CPL. And then apparently, according to Channel 7 and Ross Jones and the Detroit Police Department, and Ross is a buddy of mine, is a great investigative reporter, they let J-Mo go. They originally put him in handcuffs. We're going to at least take him in for having a gun without a permit. And then they let him go. And so really Channel 7's investigating, why did the Detroit police let him go? Is it because he told them he played for the Lions? Did they make a few phone calls? Did a sergeant come down and say, hey, look, it's Jameson Williams, let him go? So there's that issue. The bottom line on this is, Chris, Jameson Williams was suspended last year for gambling. He's been suspended this year for a performance-enhancing substance. And now he's out, on their night off. That Monday into Tuesday is the players' day off. But he's out at midnight in the city riding around with guns in the car. Like, what's going on here? And this is a squeaky clean operation right now under Brad Holmes and Sheila Hamp and Dan Campbell. They have all really good guys and good people in that locker room. They've had a great culture the last few years. Any player that has acted up or any players that they don't deem to be a part of the Lion culture, they've gotten rid of. And here's the one guy that's very, very talented that's on a rookie contract, so he's cheap. Now this is how many strikes against him off the field. So I'll be interested in seeing what they do with him this offseason and whether they pick up his fifth-year option or not.
He's a talented player, but like I said, he's kind of a distraction right now. And the thing is, even if the Lions don't suspend him, the NFL could very well give him a 4 or 8 game suspension for personal conduct after this investigation's over with.
That is true. Again, he was very accommodating with the police. If he had his permit for the gun, there wouldn't have been an issue. Maybe he hasn't. It was at home. There's a lot of this needs to all play out. The bottom line is that Dan Campbell admitted last week when J-Mo was suspended that, look, they've given him a lot of rope. Sometimes he's climbed up and he's done well. Other times he's fallen off. They've got to figure this out. Now, you mentioned the word distraction before, Chris. This is a team that is so focused on winning. Great veteran leadership in that locker room with guys like Jared Goff and Alex Anzalone and Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell. So they'll police themselves. They'll handle him. I think the players will. So I don't think it'll be a huge distraction. But again, from the outside looking in, it's like, another J-Mo problem. And they've got to fix that.
Absolutely. And Matt, I also wanted to bring up the loss of Aiden Hutchinson as well. I guess that was a couple weeks ago against the Dallas Cowboys. And a lot of people thought this was going to impact the team, but it seems like you're right. Dan Campbell and this coaching staff have this team focused, but still it's hard to replace a guy like Hutchinson on and off the field as well.
Oh, no question. He's one of the captains on defense. He's clearly their best defensive player. You could make an argument he's the best player on the team. He was off to a defensive player of the year type start, just sack after sack. He led the NFL in pressures, pass rush win rate, according to Pro Football Focus. And he was the one guy you could not lose on that defense. And yet, a few weeks ago in that Dallas game, like you said, he just shreds his knee and is done for the year. Now the biggest question is, how do they replace him? They've spent the past 2 weeks doing the old next man up routine. They've brought up Muhammad from the practice squad, Isaiah Thomas, James Houston. They've tried Isaac Ukwu. They've tried a lot of different people in that spot. And the pass rush hasn't been great, to be honest. It really hasn't had to have been. But this week's a different animal. You're taking on the Packers. You're taking on Jordan Love. Those 4 wide receivers, the young receivers for the Packers. You got to generate pressure. And so I'll be interested in seeing, as you mentioned before, with the trade deadline a week away, what they're going to do. I think they have to add a piece. Brad Holmes doesn't like to get rid of draft picks. He loves the draft. He's mastered the draft as a general manager. But the question is going to be, who is going to come here? I don't think they're trading for Max Crosby. I don't think they're trading for Myles Garrett. Those would be home runs. But if you can hit a single or a double and get a guy like Azeez Ojulari from the Giants, Arden Key, we just saw from the Titans, somebody like that, Cam Jordan from the Saints. Look at the bad teams, see who's closing up shop for the year. Zadarius Smith of the Browns, another one. And try to pilfer one of those guys away, because opposite of Josh Pascal, they need another edge rusher.
Obviously a pass rusher, but I wanted to ask you, what about another wide receiver as well?
I think they're okay there. Tim Patrick has stepped up, who they picked up from the Broncos right before the start of the season. He's been good. Khalif Raymond had a big week last week. They like Allen Robinson, the former Orchard Lake St. Mary's Eaglet, who, of course, played at Penn State and then went on to a nice career in the NFL. He's kind of at the end of his run, but a veteran receiver that I don't think will hurt you. But I think right now they've got to get an edge rusher. So I think that's where their focus is.
And I know a lot of fans don't talk about this, but your special teams have been really good. Obviously, you got Fox as your punter. Jake Bates is some kind of unbelievable story, being the Lions field goal kicker. And then obviously with Raymond and Dorsey and Detroit, I guess, was the third team since 1941 to have a punt return of 90 yards and a kickoff return 70 yards or more. So special teams have been a real impact with this team in 2024.
Totally, Chris. That's a great point. Dave Phipp, their special teams coach, is as good a special teams coach as there is in the league. The players love him. The media loves him. He's just got a lot of energy. They gave him a game ball the other day in the locker room following the win over the Titans. And again, you're setting up returns, which, the kick return in this day and age of the NFL with this new kick return rule, it's not the same. Most of the kick returns are still being downed or taking a knee, and you just take the ball at the 30-yard line. But on the punt return group this week, you saw Khalif Raymond explode for the touchdown, had another long run. The blocking was there. The guys are really, really good at setting up, holding their blocks. And the addition of the new long snapper, I know you're going to go, why is Matt Dery talking about the long snapper? But this Hogan Hatton kid that won the job over Scott Daly, who's an established long snapper. Hatton has done a really good job in punt coverage, and not just, he snaps the ball back to Jack Fox, but he gets down there and makes plays. And so you mentioned Fox, Jake Bates, whole special teams has been fantastic.
And you know what, Matt, covering the Canadian Football League too, I've interviewed punters and kickers and stuff like that over here, and people don't realize it's really a huge part of this game, especially like you said, the long snapper as well. It's a total unit has to be doing their job to do well. And I think the Lions special teams are huge, because to win a championship, Matt, you need all three units going: defense, offense, and special teams. And that game against the Titans, Goff only threw 89 yards and they scored 52 points.
It is crazy to think that 85 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and you win 52-14. I mean, unheard of. But again, a lot of that was set up by, like you said, Khalil Dorsey 72-yard kick return, which led to a score. The Raymond 90-yard punt return for a touchdown, and the other one over 60 yards set up another touchdown. So, you got to do it on all levels. You got to have a good coaching staff, which they do. Offense, defense, special teams, the culture, it's all there. And it's remarkable, Chris, because I've been in this town now since 1996. I can never recall. And I've covered some decent Lions teams. When I first got here, Wayne Fonts had playoff teams. Jim Caldwell had playoff teams. Jim Schwartz had playoff teams, but nothing like this. They are a full team. It is offense, defense, special teams, everybody, people that, behind the scenes, the training staff, the assistants up in the front office, ownership. It's all there right now. And in an NFC that right now I think is a little bit weak, San Francisco thinks they're bouncing back a little bit after that win over Dallas, but that's not the same Niner team from a year ago. It's the Lions conference to lose. It really is.
I would say Philadelphia right now is playing better, and I think if AJ Brown can stay healthy, he really is a huge security blanket for the Eagles and Saquon Barkley. I think the Lions have the best 1-2 duo in the NFL with Montgomery and Gibbs, but I think the Eagles have the biggest home run hitter in Saquon Barkley. And hey, I'm hoping this year the Eagles and Lions can finally meet in the playoff game for the first time since 1995, because I really think both teams have a lot of weapons, and the Eagles are playing better right now. But you're right. I agree with you, Matt. The Detroit Lions right now are the favorites in the NFC. And I wanted to ask you this, Matt. What is different from this team than last year? Is it just the confidence? They just seem to have that championship swagger around them that maybe they didn't last year.
First of all, Chris, it only took you 14 minutes to bring up your Eagles, so I give you credit. I'm just busting. But, I think a big difference from last year is the cornerback room. A year ago, you had Cam Sutton, you had Kindle Vildor, you had Jerry Jacobs, and Vildor goes from the number 2 corner in the NFC Championship game to really the number 5 or 4 or 5 corner this year. The Lions have really added at that cornerback spot. Carlton Davis is a veteran that knows how to play and is on a 1-year deal, so he's trying to prove himself for another contract. Terrion Arnold is a good-looking rookie that's made some mistakes early, but he's learning and playing better. Amik Robertson has turned into, the next Charles Tillman with the Bears with the peanut punch. He loves to punch the football out and cause turnovers. He's been really, really aggressive in the slot and a nice addition. Brian Branch is healthy and can play either safety or cornerback spot. And then, then you got Ennis Rakestraw, to a rookie, and Vildor. So it's a much deeper cornerback room as opposed to a year ago. So I think that has helped immensely. I think the linebackers are better this year. Jack Campbell has taken a step forward. And I think Kevin Zeitler at right guard is having a Pro Bowl type season. So some of the additions they've had and some of the guys that have kind of grown up a little bit, I think makes them better than they were a year ago. And remember, Jahmyr Gibbs isn't a rookie anymore. He's now ready to be a primetime player. And so it's awesome to watch.
I wanted to ask you this too. I have a viewer. His name's Edward Ford. He's a producer with a Fox TV station in Hartford, Connecticut. Big Commanders fan. Wants to ask you, Matt, can you ask him what he thinks of the Washington Commanders 8 games in, and whether you think they could, where they could finish at the end of the season, and the process of the progress of rookie Jaden Daniels with the Commanders?
Yeah, Edward, I caught obviously the game this weekend. Obviously caught the end, but I watched most of it that was on here in Detroit because the Bears obviously are of interest to the Lions. And I'm just so impressed. The Commanders have been an absolute laughingstock for decades under Dan Snyder, and you never could take them seriously. And now you look up and you see what Josh Harris and their ownership group, David Blitzer, has done. They've added a bunch of Lions executives in that front office with the Commanders, so people that know what they're doing, that have been working under Brad Holmes. And I think you got the best rookie quarterback out there. I do. I think Daniels is better than Caleb. I know Caleb Williams is the hotness and everybody loves talking about him, but Jaden Daniels looks the part, man. And what I loved about the Commanders the other day at the end of that game, everyone talks about Dan Quinn being a defensive coach, but they ran that out pattern for McLaurin. They got the 13 yards to then set up for 2 seconds left, the Hail Mary. They handled it properly. The Bears did not. And so for Washington to be at 6-2, that's pretty good. And I think that it'll be them and Philadelphia coming out of the NFC East. One of those 2 teams will win it. And I think one of those 2 teams will be a wild card. I think Dallas, I think just Dallas is mediocre and the Giants are the Giants. But I think the Commanders are a playoff team. Absolutely.
How does Mike McCarthy keep his job there?
I mean, they're paying him a lot of money. And I think Jerry is, I think he's set in his ways a little bit right now. I think he knows the media and the Sharks are circling. But I would think after this year, then they'll make a change. Don't you think?
Absolutely. And as an Eagles fan, I want to say thank you to the Detroit Lions, because our Canadian Thanksgiving was on October 13th here in Canada. And it was a nice Thanksgiving watching the Lions give the Dallas a nice beatdown. So I'm really excited for the Detroit Lions fan base and for the city of Detroit, because this has been a long time happening. It's the Lions' first 6-1 start since 1956.
It is. And, that just goes to show that after last year, winning 14 games, 12 in the regular season and 2 in the playoffs, that they were not satisfied. And we're not just going to start this season. We're 4-2, we're 3-3. No, they came out and continue to kind of put the pedal down. And they played really, really good football lately. They've blown out everybody. I mean, their point differential, Chris, is the best in the NFL at plus 100. I mean, they aren't just winning games right now. They're waxing teams. Now, Sunday at Green Bay is going to be a different story. I still think the Lions will win, but it's going to be a close game. Packers are really good. Josh Jacobs has added to that run game, and Packers have some really good young defensive pieces and have really good success on third downs defensively. That's where the Lions have been eating the first 7 weeks is third down. So great matchup this Sunday. I think these are the best two teams in the NFC, but I still think the Lions can go in there and win. They've gone in there, Chris, the last 2 years and won at Lambeau. Why not again?
One of the keys in this game is obviously Jordan Love. He's kind of, I guess, a groin injury. So if his mobility is cut down in half because of that, that might help the Detroit Lions front four get pressure. Because I feel if they can pressure him with his not being 100%, I think that could be one of the keys right there to a win.
I'm interested, and I'm going to talk to Peter Bukowski from Locked On Packers on our crossover show tomorrow. I'm interested in seeing what the Packer game plan is going to be. Do they keep it hush-hush, and then Malik Willis all of a sudden is your starter? And Malik obviously can run. And what's interesting about the Malik Willis versus the Lions dynamic is a few years ago when Willis was coming out of the draft, there were a lot of Lion fans and even some Detroit media that really wanted the Lions to draft Malik Willis and have their quarterback of the future. This is before Jared Goff blew up and has been so good and is an MVP candidate. And the Lions really never looked at Willis. And you wonder if Malik has that in the back of his mind, if he's playing the Lions, like, I'm going to show them. It would be kind of ironic. But he's played well in Green Bay. He was a disaster in Tennessee. But he's been good in Green Bay, and I wonder what kind of packages Matt LaFleur has for Willis if Love's healthy enough. I still think Willis will play at some point.
Hey, Matt, obviously with the loss of Hutchinson's huge. Is there one other area on the defense that you might be concerned about, like maybe the run defense? Do you feel the Packers might try to just run the ball down on the Lions on Sunday at Lambeau?
Lions run defense has been pretty good. The addition of DJ Reader alongside Lee McNeil on the interior of that defensive line has been huge. And Levi Onwuzurike, who's in a contract year, is having a really good season, playing both inside and outside on that D line. Lions have stopped the run. Really, the last 2 years, it's been pretty good. But you're right, good matchup with Jacobs and that Packers offensive line against that Lions D line. Not overly concerned. I don't think it's a problem for the Lions. I think they'll be all right in that department. Biggest issue, I would say, going into Sunday is, like you said, if Love is able to move and Willis is out there, Lions have had a history against mobile quarterbacks of having some issues in getting them to the ground. And especially with Hutchinson out, I'd be interested in seeing how many quarterback runs, how many design rollouts there are with some run pass options that could give the Lions a little bit of trouble.
Hey, Matt, since I have you on here, this has been one of the biggest surprises in the National Football League this year. And it's not just a specific team. It's Bill Belichick going from head coach to broadcaster. Did you see the transition from him being a head coach and being miserable with the media to now being probably as popular as Peyton Manning on TV?
I don't know, Chris, if he's as popular as Peyton Manning, but I will say this. I'm enjoying, and I said this on my podcast yesterday, I'm really enjoying Bill just smiling and showing some personality, whether it's inside the NFL on Showtime, whether it's the weekly podcast with Pat McAfee, the appearances with Pat McAfee, the podcast with Jim Gray on that Let's Go show. I think he's entertaining to listen to. And they did the Let's Go show this week with Jim Gray, and Jared Goff was on, and Belichick was just beaming about the Lions offense. Basically said it's unstoppable. And you love hearing from the best coach to ever do it talk about your team. And to hear him say, hey, Jared, I think you guys are unstoppable. You try to blitz you can't. You try to just play regular man coverage and rush 4, rush 3, you can't. Belichick giving the Lions a lot of credit. Remember, Bill started his NFL career with the Lions as an assistant coach. So he does have a little history with Detroit and appreciates what the Lions did for him, giving him his first job. I think he's doing great. When I go back to coaching and in my 70s and he's got his 29-year-old girlfriend, I wouldn't, but I think he misses coaching, but I like him on TV. I think he's doing well.
Absolutely. Hey, and I wanted to ask you this too, Matt. Jared Goff obviously took the Rams to a Super Bowl, but what has been his biggest development in Detroit in his time in Detroit? Because it seems like his confidence is much better. And also, too, I find he's not throwing as many interceptions. He's playing a clean game. He's more of a game manager now.
I mean, I think he's more than a game manager. I think his arm strength, his accuracy. I think at the end with the Rams, his confidence level was low. I think he and Sean McVay obviously had a little bit of a falling out, but now working alongside Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, and having chemistry there. I mean, working with Ben now basically for 4 years, but 3 as OC, and same thing. Mark Brunell, quarterback's coach, has been there. There's that chemistry there. There's that consistency with the same people, and that's given him a ton of confidence. And he just sees the field. He's got a great rapport with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you got a good run game and a good offensive line. You throw all that in as a combo meal, and Jared Goff is an MVP candidate. He's playing with confidence. The Detroit fan base, they're yelling Jared Goff at weddings, at Red Wing games, at Michigan football games. The Jared Goff chants are everywhere. I was at the Tigers and Guardians game 3 a few weeks ago in the ALDS, and I told my brother who had come up from Cleveland, I'm like, get ready for a Jared Goff chant. About 7th inning, there it was. So it's everywhere. And he feels good coming to work, and it shows on the field. He's been great.
Thoughts on Ben Johnson as an OC, and do you see him being a head coach in the National Football League possibly next year?
If you would have asked me that last year at this time, Chris, I would have told you Ben Johnson is gone. There is no way he's going to be back in Detroit. He is that good. He's ready to be a head coach. He's done wonders with this offense. The players love him. He's smart. And yet somehow, some way, he didn't get that Washington job. I know he talked to Carolina twice in the last 2 years. But I think Ben Johnson is waiting on the right, situation. Would he go to Dallas, for example, and work with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb? Would he want all that pomp and circumstance and working for Jerry Jones? And obviously, Jerry pays top dollar. So is it a money thing, or is it just, I want to go somewhere where it's the right fit? I thought the Chargers would have been a great fit for him this offseason. But again, LA went out and got the best there was in Jim Harbaugh in terms of possible candidates. And that's a proven Super Bowl coach and a national championship winning coach. So I think Ben Johnson is going to take a look, just like he has the last 2 years. But it wouldn't surprise me if he came back again next year. I think he's going to pick the right situation. I don't think he's just going to take a job just to be an NFL head coach. I think he wants to make sure there's a quarterback there, stability, a general manager, and an owner that is willing to kind of stay out of the way.
And Matt, and what I like about this Lions team is this is the kind of football that they want in Philadelphia. Run the ball, offensive line, defensive line, and Dan Campbell really fits that Detroit mish. And if the Lions ever let him go, I would love to see Dan Campbell in Philadelphia, because he's that blue-collar type of guy, hard-working type of guy, and he just fits your city and team so well. And you got to credit the Lions' ownership and management bringing him and this coaching staff in.
No, you do, and it starts with Sheila Hamp, like I said before, the owner. Chris Spielman has been unbelievable at the top of that front office too, in identifying the right people to bring into the organization. You said you wanted Dan Campbell in Philly. What about your boy Sirianni and the shaved head? Come on, he shaved his head and it's working, Chris. They won a bunch of games.
You know what? He's got a .637 winning percentage in Philadelphia, but unless they win championships, they want him out of there. But you know what? Winning quiets the critics. And if the Eagles just keep playing well and keep winning, I think that will silence the critics. But it's a tough city. It's a tough city for anybody. And Jalen Hurts, when he plays well, they love him. When he has a bad game or doesn't do well, they want him out of there. So, but hey, Matt, do you have time for 2 more quick questions?
Go for it.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about this earlier in the year. What's your overall assessment on tight end Sam Laporta? And do you feel now Ben Johnson is getting more production out of Laporta, more involved with the offense? Because earlier in the season, he wasn't as involved.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there at the start of the year. Obviously, last year was arguably the best rookie season for a tight end in NFL history. I mean, Sam Laporta went off. I mean, he was fantastic. And people knew coming out of Iowa in the second round pick that he was going to be good. But no one thought he'd be that good. And to make the Pro Bowl as a rookie and some great tight ends in this league and in this conference with guys like George Kittle, pretty high honors for a guy like Sam. Came back this year, everybody thought, all right, he's just going to continue to eat and do his thing. And I think the Jameson Williams kind of coming out party took a few balls away from Sam each game. The run game has been so good that you got to feed those guys too. So I think he's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle a little bit. I also think teams know they've got a full year of tape on Laporta. But what was great about last week was with J-Mo out, you could tell Ben Johnson was trying to get Laporta the football. He had a near touchdown on a rollout pass early in the game, and then David Montgomery hit him on that halfback pass for a touchdown. I would expect this week at Green Bay, without Jameson Williams, with the Packers and how well they play out on the exterior of the defense, if you can get Laporta against a linebacker in the middle of the field, I sense that could be a place that Ben Johnson wants to go with the football this week.
What's Laporta's biggest strengths as a tight end?
He does everything well. He can really catch the football. He's a very good blocker. He's a great teammate. He's got size. Can run. Remember at the end of last year, he got injured and was not 100% during the playoffs. But, man, he just does everything well. You throw anything near him, he's going to catch it.
And quick thoughts on the running back duo of Montgomery and Gibbs. And obviously Barry Sanders and Billy Sams are two of the greatest of all time. But this duo right here, do you see them being together for a long time?
I do. You know, they just extended Montgomery game another 2 years, so he's not going anywhere. Jahmyr Gibbs is on that rookie deal. He's got 3 years left. I love just the change of pace. I love starting a game with Montgomery, having him kind of wear down that defense with his size and his ability to break tackles. And then on the second offensive series, you bring Gibbs in, and he's hitting home runs. He's going for 20 yards. This week, a 70-yard run. It throws the defense off. If you're a linebacker, you're thinking, all right, here comes Montgomery. I got to get ready for contact. He might not outrun me, but he's going to run me over. Then the next guy comes in, and it's Gibbs, and you got to be ready for the speed factor. Those two guys are an unbelievable combination. Neither of them have ever bitched or complained about touches or playing time or anything like that. They complement each other very well. I think this week you might see them on the field together a little bit. Gibbs in a pass catching role, Montgomery back there in the backfield running the ball and blocking. Keep an eye on that this Sunday.
I think Dan Campbell's best job with the Detroit Lions is to get everyone buying into the team concept, because you have a lot of star players on this team, but it seems like it's all one unit, and that's how you win championships from my perspective.
No, you're right. And you watch those videos after wins with Campbell in the locker room talking to the guys. It is all about the team. Everybody's bought in. And that's why it's so difficult to handicap what Brad Holmes is going to do at the trade deadline here with 6 days to go, because you don't want to bring in a player in that locker room that's going to mess up the chemistry. Yet you have to have another edge rusher. So I'll give you an example. Chase Young. I don't know if Chase Young is a good guy or a bad guy, but Chase Young has had a history of, dogging it on plays and not playing hard all the time. Is that the kind of guy you want? Now, he's on the last year of his contract. He's in New Orleans. Maybe you can get nothing for him, a 6th-round pick, something like that. Maybe you take that chance. But the Lions are very specific on who they want to add to that locker room.
Besides the Lions, what other NFC teams do you feel could be a threat to the Lions? Like, obviously, Washington's off to a good start. Philadelphia has potential to be one of those teams, but I don't know if they can keep doing it on a consistent basis. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the NFC teams.
We talked about it before. I think Green Bay is the second best team. I think these are the top 2 teams in the NFC playing each other this week. I like Washington a lot, but I'm not sure that they would stack up against the Lions. Washington's defense, I know, played well this week against the Bears, but I think the Lions would score on them. I'm with you on Philly. The Eagles have always been good on paper. Those two defensive backs that they drafted, Mitchell and DeJean, have looked really, really good, and that could cause some problems to the Lions if they were to play in the playoffs. Tampa Bay beat the Lions earlier in the year. I don't know if they can do that again if they played each other in the playoffs, but I like that Bucs team. I still think they're the best team in the NFC South. I think they're better than Atlanta when it all comes down to it. Minnesota's good, but the Lions won in Minnesota. So I would probably say Lions and Packers and Eagles would be my top three. Washington's up there too.
I'm not sold on the Minnesota Vikings. I know they got off to a good start, but I don't think Sam Donald is their long-term answer as quarterback.
No, Sam Darnold's done a good job, and he's a solid pro. But there's a reason they drafted J.J. McCarthy, and I think Darnold will get him into the playoffs this year. I think that'll happen, but I'm not so sure in a playoff game he's going to be throwing for 350 and 3 touchdowns.
Hey, Matt, before we wrap this up, just quickly, what are a couple of keys to a Lions win over the Packers on Sunday at 4:25 at Lambeau?
Well, the Lions have done a great job the last few weeks in turnover margin. So anytime you play at Lambeau, it's a hostile environment. The last thing you want to be doing is turning the ball over. Take care of the football, which they've been doing for the most part, outside of the Montgomery fumble 2 weeks ago against Minnesota. I think that's going to be a key. I mentioned before about the scrambling quarterbacks. If Love is able to run around a little bit, if Malik Willis is able to get to the edge and run around a little bit, the Lions have got to contain that, which I think they'll do. And I mentioned before about Laporta. I think get Laporta and Brock Wright, the other tight end, involved if the Packers corners and safeties, and that's a much improved Green Bay secondary, they want to take Amon-Ra St. Brown away or Raymond away. Find a way to get the football to Sam Laporta on some third downs, and that could deflate that Lambeau crowd.
Do you see this being a high-scoring game or more of a defensive battle?
That's a good question. Green Bay's defense has been better than I thought, and they got some guys coming off the edge, Rashawn Gary and others that are pretty good. No, I could see this. I still think these two teams can score points. I could see a 31-24, 31-27 type of game.
I see it high scoring, and I see a field goal at the end of the game, and I see Detroit winning on a Jake Bates game-winning field goal at the end.
Wow. Well, he did that against Minnesota, so see if he can do it again at Lambeau. First, by the way, Chris, first outdoor game this year for the Lions. So they've got 3 on their schedule. Chicago and San Fran are later in the year. But this is the first time they played outdoors on grass all season. We'll see how that goes.
What's the weather forecast supposed to be like for Green Bay?
I haven't seen that yet. But obviously, like I said, right now we've got warmer temperatures here. I know for one thing, they're not going to be playing in the snow. That's a good thing.
But you know what? The way this team is right now, I really don't. It's not like the past Lions teams where they were good in the dome and bad on outside. I really think with Stan Campbell, it doesn't really matter if they're indoor or outdoor or the elements as a factor, the way this team is built.
No, you're right. And they can play in any weather. They could run the football in cold weather. They could throw in indoor games. They're ready to go. It's a remarkable story how this organization has turned this around this quickly. And it's fun. People in Detroit are excited. They love it. And they're into this team. And it's a tough stretch. 4 out of 5 on the road. Well, they've won the first 2 with Dallas and Minnesota. And then, of course, took care of Tennessee. So now Green Bay this week, 4:25 next Sunday night against Houston won't be easy. So if they can somehow win these games, man, that's a tough gauntlet to go 5-0 during that 5-game stretch with 4 on the road.
Absolutely. And Matt, can you just tell us about your next Locked On Lions podcast, your next guest, and where your podcast is available?
Thank you, Chris. So wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, just type in Locked On Lions, Apple, Spotify, again, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there daily for you. I usually record every day around 5 o'clock Eastern time. Yesterday we had Colton Pouncey on from theathletic.com, who's a very good beat writer. Tomorrow, Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers, will join me. And so that'll be fun to talk to Pete and bust his chops a little bit because he's a big Packers slappy. But yeah, wherever you get your podcast, check us out. Go to our YouTube page, hit subscribe, and you'll get the show every day. And I appreciate you, Chris, checking it out yesterday, and always love your support. You know that.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm hoping to get down to Ford Field to either watch a game of the Fan or as media, Matt, because this team is just fun to watch. And they remind me so much of Philadelphia, blue-collared, hardworking football. And this team is hopefully can stay healthy and not have any more key injuries. And we'll see what's going to happen with the NFL trade deadline. Matt, did they push it back to November for a reason? Because I remember it used to be around Halloween.
I think a couple of years ago they did move it back a week. I think they're going to be eventually adding an 18th game. So I think they wanted to move it back a little bit and give more teams a chance to get involved. I think you're right about that. So, yeah, November 5th, next Tuesday, election day here in the States, and NFL trade deadline day.
And Matt, where can my audience follow you on social media? And as for the dynamic kickoff, I hope they get rid of it. I'm not a big fan of it, Matt. I'm still a guy that loves to see kickoffs and punt returns. Yeah. Special teams is a huge element of football.
I agree with you. On Twitter or X at Dery Speaks, Dery Speaks. There's a Matt Dery Facebook fan page as well. I'm on LinkedIn as well, MattDery, and always love interacting with our listeners and certainly the audience as well.
All right. Well, Matt, thank you so much for giving us some time this morning, and continued success with your podcast. And congratulations on a great season to your Cleveland Guardians. And the Tigers will be back next year as well. And Matt, you have an open invite to come back on my show again. And I'm really hoping for a Philly-Detroit matchup in January this coming playoff season.
Well, Chris, thank you. If the Lions and Eagles play in the playoffs, we got to do this again. Which we will. And I catch your shows when I can. Dan Schulman and you were great. That was such a great get for you to talk to Dan. That was awesome. So if folks haven't seen that yet, they need to go watch that.
Well, thank you. And I'm still work in progress, and I look at myself as an undrafted rookie. And hey, it's the guests like yourself and Dan that make my show. I'm just the host, and I'm just trying to get better. And I really appreciate your support, Matt, over the years.
Always, Chris. Appreciate the time, my man.
Okay. Have a great day, Matt, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Matt. All right, guys. That was See the 9, episode 8, overall 448 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and on WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. That was my guest this morning, Matt Dery from the Locked On Lions podcast. Please check out his podcast. It's all on all social media platforms and on YouTube as well. And he's going to have another show tomorrow, and they're going to talk about the Lions-Packers matchup, which is this Thursday at 4:25. And speaking of National Football League, the Eagles are back at the Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday at 4:25 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 1-6. I'm hoping the Eagles don't have a trap game here. The Jaguars are struggling right now, 1-6, and Doug Peterson's under a hot seat there. And hopefully the Eagles can take care of business and get another win. With Washington being 6-2, if the Eagles can get that win, that would be a big advantage for them as well. So, but there's no give me games in the National Football League. So Eagles, Jaguars, 4:25. And the Packers and Lions, I believe, are at 4:25 or 4:05 from Lambeau Field as well. But the way that this Detroit Lions team's playing right now, they've kind of taken over from the San Francisco 49ers. But the Niners, to be fair to them, they've had a lot of injuries this year as well. But right now, I would say the Detroit Lions are the team to beat in the NFC, but I'm still hoping for a Philly-Detroit playoff matchup as well. I want to say thank you to Matt Dery for coming on again, and please check out his Locked On Lions podcast. It's available everywhere. And let's see, we got comments here. Edward Ford, good morning, Chris. Thank you, Edward. Edward's a producer at a Fox TV station in Hartford, Connecticut. He's a huge Washington Commanders fan. So thanks, Edward, for your comments and questions. And thank you so much for the comments. And before we wrap this up, guys, I was at a Cambridge District Humane Society fundraiser this past Saturday at the Canadian Tire at 65 Pine Bush Road in Cambridge. And I had the pleasure of interviewing Executive Director Michelle Glatley. And we're going to play that interview right now. And it's courtesy of my YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe and like notification. This is my interview with Cambridge District Humane Society's Executive Director Michelle Glatley at their pet food and adoption event this past Saturday at Canadian Tire at 65 Pine Bush Road in Cambridge. Chris Palme, radio host of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment talk show on WQEE 99.1 FM. I'm here today at the Canadian Tire at 65 Pine Bush Road in Cambridge, Ontario for a special event for the Cambridge Humane Society auction event. And I have a special guest with me, Michelle Glatley, the Executive Director of the Cambridge District Humane Society. And we're going to speak to her about the event for the Cambridge District Humane Society here in Cambridge. Morning, Michelle. How you doing?
I'm doing just great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this. Can you tell us a little bit about this event today for the Cambridge District Humane Society?
Sure. We were approached by the Canadian Tire Pine Bush location, and they wanted to do something to help us increase the number of adoptions that we were able to do. Sort of exposure in the community, remind people that we're there and that we've got a lot of beautiful animals up for adoption. They brought with them the Bissell Pet Foundation, and they brought with them Blue Buffalo. So we've been able to develop a couple of new partnerships. It's really going to help us create a lot more awareness for the work that we're doing.
And this event today goes from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.?
It does. It goes until 3 p.m. We're asking people to, think about purchasing some food for the emergency pet food bank that we help support in the community, as well as the animals in our shelter. We've been very blessed with 5 great prize draws from the Bissell group, as well so that if anybody wants to make a donation, we give them a raffle ticket, and then their name goes into a draw for one of those wonderful prizes.
What are some of the biggest needs right now at the Cambridge District Humane Society?
So our emergency pet food bank, we're helping over 500 people in our community, and it continues to increase. We're always running out of especially cat food and litter for people, and it helps sustain them so that they can keep their animals in their own homes and they don't have to even consider surrendering due to the economic crisis in our community. The other things that we're looking at is the compassion program. It's one of our big community programs where we are able to help with the limited resources and whatever donations we have. We're able to help people with emergency vet expenses, as well as our cremation services when the time comes.
Can you tell us a little about Canadian Tire? Is this the first time you guys have partnered up with Canadian Tire, 65 Pine Bush Road here in Cambridge?
This Canadian Tire has been tremendous supporters of us for a number of years that I've been with. This is now going into my 7th year, and they have continued to support us in many ways. They've always allowed us to sell our lottery tickets here. They always support us for some of our events, like our calendar event, and they're just really great community partners who truly believe in the work that we're doing.
Can you tell us about your 2025 Cambridge Humane Society calendars that just came out?
They're only $10. We did a photo contest through social media, and the animals were selected by Reader's Choice. And then we also included 4 different animals that have actually come through our system and been adopted into some loving families. So their stories are in this calendar as well.
Can you just tell us a little bit about your role as the Executive Director of the Cambridge District Humane Society?
Well, that role, I wear many hats. So besides the shelter operations and helping to fundraise, we're managing events. I also manage animal services for the city of Cambridge, and we're continually looking for new partnerships. And for me, that's a big one, that getting out in the community, telling our story, and trying to look for other people with like minds.
For those watching this, what's the shelter and yourself directly if they're interested in sponsoring the Cambridge District Humane Society?
They can go to our website, and on the very bottom of the front page is my email, excc.director@cambridgehumanesociety.org.
And what's a fun fact about the Cambridge District Humane Society the audience might not know about your shelter?
Oh, fun fact. We've been around for 70 years coming. A lot of people don't realize we've been there. Next year will be our 70th anniversary. We're planning on doing some really kind of cool new event. It's a masquerade ball that you'll be hearing more about. But people should start saving that date for February 13th, 2025.
Wow, 70 years, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. And finally, for those that are looking to volunteer, what's the best way for them to get involved with the Cambridge District Humane Society?
Again, our website is always the best place to go because we continually update it. So people should reach out there, and there will be actually a page that they can contact the proper staff members that will get them involved in the volunteering.
And do you have any other upcoming events for the Cambridge District Humane Society?
We just have our normal, our wonderful pet stores like Pet Values that we work with and rent. They're always trying to look for adoption events for us, and so we're always trying to partner with them as well. We have Global Pet Food that we also have 2 in our community, and we're always sort of grateful for them because they're ongoing friends for us, and we're always surprised by the community support that we get through those pet stores.
And finally, just quick thoughts on your staff at the Cambridge District Humane Society and all of your volunteers that help out as well.
Best people in the world. I wish I had more of them because we're small, but we're mighty, and so many people come together with so much heart for the love of animals.
Well, Michelle, I want to say thank you so much for doing this. This is Michelle Glatley from the Executive Director of the Cambridge District Humane Society, and I want to say thank you so much again.
Thank you. Really appreciate the support, Chris.
Thank you, Michelle. And I'm just going to show you guys a little of their table here. If you guys are at 65 Pine Bush Road today, Cambridge, Ontario at the Canadian Tire, they will be here until 3 o'clock. That is Kat, one of the longtime office staff with the Cambridge District Humane Society. And come on out and support a great cause as well. And it's also a pet food and adoption event. Whatever you can do to help out, they would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much again, Michelle. Chris Palmer. That was Michelle Glatley, the Executive Director of the Cambridge Humane Society. That interview was done this past Saturday at the Canadian Tire at 65 Pine Bush Road in Cambridge, Ontario. And speaking of the Cambridge Humane Society, if you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals that are up for adoption, their profiles are on their website, and they're also doing a monthly 50-50 raffle with the proceeds going to the programs at the Cambridge District Humane Society. And if you're looking to volunteer like I am, you can fill out a volunteer application through cambridgehumanesociety.org, and they are going to be selling soon, very soon, 2025 Cambridge Humane Society calendars for $10, and yours truly will be, I've already bought a couple, but I'm also going to be selling calendars. So if you're interested in buying a Cambridge Humane Society calendar and supporting that shelter and the furry friends down there, please DM me or email me at cpalme19@gmail.com. I want to give a special shout out today to somebody on Facebook I just met. Her name is Christina Millman Rinaldi. She is the Executive Director with the Detroit Dog Rescue Group. If you're in Detroit or in the Detroit metro area and you're looking to adopt or rescue an animal, I think they might even do fostering, check out DetroitDogRescue.com, DetroitDogRescue.com, and a special shout out to Christina Millman Rinaldi, and I think they do great work down there, and I'm hoping to have Christina Millman Rinaldi on my show in the next week or two to talk about the Detroit Dog Rescue Group and the importance of adopting and not shopping. So a special shout out to her as well. By the way, guys, we have some CFL semifinals going on this weekend. Saturday, November 2nd at 3 o'clock. Ottawa, Toronto at BMO Field. You can get your tickets through argonauts.ca/single game tickets, or you can watch the game at on TSN at 3 p.m. or listen to the broadcast on TSN 1050 a.m. with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant. I will be at the game between Ottawa and Toronto. I'm not sure yet, as of yet, if I'm going to be there in media or as a fan, but it's going to be a huge game. And the other semifinal, the West semifinal, is going to be between BC and Saskatchewan at 6:30. Montreal and Winnipeg have buys. So on Saturday, November 9th, the East Final will be in Montreal for the first time since 2012. And the West Final for the 5th straight year will be at Princess Auto Stadium in Winnipeg, the home of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are looking to go back to a 5th consecutive Grey Cup championship as well. Before we wrap up this show, guys, I wanted to make an announcement. The next live with CDP Sports Entertainment. The next live with sports, I'm going to re-say it again. The next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment talk show brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet and on WQE 99.1 FM is going to be tomorrow, Thursday, October 31st, Halloween at 1:30 p.m. with my special guest, Brian Cozio, radio personality with WGR 550 in Buffalo, New York. And Brian Cozio is the pre- and post-game host for the Buffalo Sabres radio network. So Brian Cozio is going to be on my show for the third time, and we're going to talk about the 2024-2025 Buffalo Sabres and the return of Lindy Ruff as the Buffalo Sabres head coach, and whether or not this team can end their 12-year playoff drought as well. So if you're a fan of the Buffalo Sabres, Buffalo sports, and the National Hockey League, please check out my Halloween edition, Thursday, October 31st at 1:30 with Brian Cozio from WGR 550 in Buffalo, New York. And I'm excited to have him on and talk Sabres hockey. And the Sabres did defeat the Red Wings this past Saturday at the KeyBank Center. And they take on the Red Wings again this Saturday at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit as well. Also, guys, this Halloween, Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership, my sponsor, will be scaring away hunger by collecting donations for the Guelph Food Bank. And we encourage you to do the same. Did you know almost 24% of Guelph households are food insecure, and we must do the best to help? This event is inspired by me to the We's We Scare Hunger. An amazing program runs through the schools all over. So if you're at Barry Cullen Chevrolet looking for a new vehicle this week, which I highly recommend, and they have a great selection of GM products, electric vehicles, and Cadillac products. Please bring some food, perishable food donations, and they will make sure the Guelph Food Bank gets them as well. So a shout out to Barry Cullen Chevrolet for doing their Scaring Away Hunger by collecting donations for the Guelph Food Bank. And I want to say thank you to Karen Randall again from Food for Life in Hamilton and the Holton region for coming on as well. So if you're watching this show live stream or on audio platforms or in the States on WQEE 99.1 FM, consider donating and helping out your local food banks or even volunteering there as well. And I also want to do another special shout out to Fluffy Glazed Donuts. Fluffy Glazed Donuts, 650 Scottsdale Road in Guelph, Ontario. Check out their phone number, 519-821-0056, or their website, fluffyglaze.com, or you can email them at team@fluffyglaze.com. All right, guys, as always, we're going to wrap this show up in a couple of minutes, but Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show is hosted by yours truly, Chris Pame, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports, and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. And make sure you hit those follow and subscribe notifications. You can also check out my website, beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. All my digital media work, previous radio shows, and social media sites are on beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Gulf Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, folks, check out a 2024 Silverado HD. You can get up to $10,700 off select Silverado HD crew cab models. More details at barrycullen.com. Live with CDP t-shirts are coming. They're going to be available in many colors and sizes. Large, extra large, double extra large, and maybe a couple 3 extra larges as well. And the shirts are going to be priced at $20, which will go to supporting my radio and media work. So if you're interested in getting a new Live with CDP talk show t-shirt, please DM me here on social media. Also, you can follow this content creator on TikTok at Live with CDP, and make sure you hit that follow notification. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. And if you're a business, check out StreamYard.com and contact your sales department for business pricing as well. And I've been with StreamYard now for 4 years, so I highly recommend joining StreamYard for your live streaming services. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. And make sure you hit those subscribe notifications. And I want to say thank you to everyone for subscribing to my YouTube channel as well. Finally, guys, you can email the show at Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com. Any questions, comments, suggestions, any feedback would be greatly appreciated. We have another viewer comment, and this is from Michael Rivers. Hey, are you on LinkedIn? Yes, I am. Just type in Chris Palme and hit that follow notification on LinkedIn. So yes, I am on all platforms, including LinkedIn. And I want to say thank you to Michael Rivers for tuning in, Tree Masher for coming on, and Edward Ford, a friend of mine who is a producer with a Fox TV station, a news TV station in Hartford, Connecticut. And he's a huge Washington sports fan. I want to say thank you so much, Edward, for coming on as well. Edward is a really good guy, and he's very passionate about football as well. And Michael, thank you so much for watching as well. And before we wrap up this show, guys, a little baseball. Looks like the New York Yankees are not done yet. The Yankees won Game 4 last night, 11-4 over the Dodgers, and they showed their bats. And World Series is not over yet. Game 5 tonight, Wednesday, October 30th, 8:08, first pitch from Yankee Stadium. Game 5, Yankees-Dodgers. And I believe Jack Flaherty is pitching for the Dodgers, the former Detroit Tiger pitcher. And for the Yankees, they got their ace, Garrett Cole, going tonight. And if the Yankees bats can get going like they did last night, I'm not saying scoring 11 runs like they did last night, but if they can score 5 or 6 runs tonight, I like their chances against the Dodgers. Garrett Cole is the Yankees' ace. So I really do believe the Yankees can win Game 5 and at least force Game 6. I still think the Dodgers are going to win this series, but I do see this series going back to Dodger Stadium Friday night for Game 6 as well. But a huge performance by the Yankees last night, and this 2024 Major League Baseball postseason has been really exciting, with the Kansas City Royals, the Cleveland Guardians, my Detroit Tigers having great playoff runs, and Freddie Freeman, the Dodgers first baseman, is going to be the MVP of the World Series. Born in California, but his late mother and father are from Ontario, I believe Windsor and Peterborough. And Freddie also played for Team Canada at last year's World Baseball Classic. So I've got a soft spot for the Dodgers because of Freddie Freeman. And the Dodgers, what can you say about them? Whether you like them or not, first-class organization, and it should be a great game tonight. Dodgers-Yankees, Game 5 of the 2024 World Series, 8:08 first pitch at Yankee Stadium. You can watch it on Fox. And I want to give a shout-out to Joe Davis and John Smoltz. Many years it was Joe Buck and Tim McCarver, who did a great job on Fox's coverage. But Joe Davis, who's a native of Michigan, and now the Dodgers broadcaster on Spectrum Sportsnet in Los Angeles. I think Joe Davis is one of the best in the business, and John Smoltz, the former Detroit Tiger prospect and Hall of Fame pitcher of the Atlanta Braves, has done a great job. So please tune in to Joe Davis and John Smoltz on Fox Sports. And it's nice to also hear John Sterling back with the Yankees radio broadcast for this playoffs as well. John's, who's been the voice of the Yankees since 1989, did step down this year, but they have him back for the playoffs along with Susan Waldman. So it's kind of nice listening to John and Sue on the Yankees radio network. But I'm really excited for the game tonight at 8:08 first pitch. That's about it, guys. I want to say thank you to Matt Dery, again, the host of the Locked On Lions podcast, for coming on and talking about the Detroit Lions and previewing their game against the Packers this Sunday at Lambeau Field. Please check out his Locked On Lions podcast. It's available on all major social platforms. And you can also follow Matt Dery on Twitter as well. That's about it, guys. I want to say thank you again to Matt Dery for coming on, and thank you to everyone for watching the show live streamed on my audio platforms and on WQEE 99.1 FM, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. So again, check out the next edition, Season 9, Episode 9, tomorrow. Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. Thursday, October 31st, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, was Brian Cozio from WGR 550 in Buffalo. And we're going to talk some Buffalo Sabres hockey. I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon and enjoy Game 5 of the World Series tonight between the Yankees and Dodgers. And we'll see you back here tomorrow at 1:30 with Brian Cozio from WGR 550 in Buffalo, New York. Have a great